Have you ever stared into the eyes of pure evil? Well, now you can. In a quiet corner of the University of Lisbon's Faculty of Medicine, a severed head floats in a jar of formaldehyde. Its skin is pale and yellowish, its eyes wide and glassy, fixed in a permanent, unnerving stare. This is the head of Diogo Alves, one of history's earliest and most infamous serial killers, and for almost 2 centuries, his disembodied gaze has chilled visitors to the bone. Our story begins in the 1830s. In a Lisbon teeming with life, ambition, and shadows, Diogo Alves, a Spanish immigrant, arrived seeking his fortune but found a darker path. He worked at the Aqueduto das Águas Livres, a magnificent aqueduct that stretched over the Alcantara Valley, providing water to the city. But for Alves, this architectural marvel became a hunting ground. Under the cover of dusk, he would lie in wait for unsuspecting farmers and travelers returning from the city after selling their goods. He would rob them, and then, to silence them forever, he would hurl them from the top of the 200-foot-high aqueduct. For months, the bodies piled up at the bottom. The authorities were baffled. In an era of economic uncertainty, they initially dismissed the deaths as a tragic wave of suicides. Desperate people, they thought, were choosing to end their lives. This miscalculation allowed Alves to continue his reign of terror, unseen and unsuspected. He was a ghost, a whisper of fear that haunted the city's lifeline. The true number of his victims on the aqueduct remains unknown, but it's believed to be around 70 people, 70 lives, extinguished and forgotten, their final moments a terrifying fall into darkness. Eventually, the aqueduct was closed to the public to stop the suicides, forcing Alves to change his methods. He formed a gang and moved his operations into the city, targeting private residences. This was a fatal mistake. Unlike his anonymous victims on the aqueduct, his new targets were more prominent. A botched home invasion led to the murder of a well-known doctor and his family. This time, the police didn't look away. The investigation led them straight to Alves and his gang. He was finally captured, tried, and in 1841, sentenced to death by hanging. But the story of Diogo Alves doesn't end at the gallows. At the time, a new and controversial scientific field called phrenology was gaining popularity. Phrenologists believed that the shape and bumps on a person's skull could reveal their personality traits, their intelligence, and even their criminal tendencies. To them, the mind of a man like Diogo Alves was a treasure trove of information. Was evil something you were born with? Could you identify a killer just by looking at them? Driven by this morbid curiosity, scientists at the Medico-Surgical School of Lisbon made a request. After Alves was executed, they wanted his head. The authorities agreed. In a chilling post-mortem procedure, Alves was decapitated, and his head was carefully preserved in a jar, destined to become an object of study. The scientists hoped to find the source of evil mapped out on his cranium. They measured every contour, analyzed every bump, searching for the physical signature of a murderer's mind. Of course, phrenology has long since been debunked as a pseudoscience. The bumps on Alves' skull revealed nothing about his murderous nature. Evil, as we now understand, is far more complex than the shape of a person's head. It's a product of psychology, environment, and choice, not destiny written in bone. Yet, despite the scientific failure, the head remains. For nearly 180 years, Diogo Alves has been locked in his glass prison. He has become a macabre tourist attraction, a relic from a time when science and superstition walked hand in hand. Today, he sits on a shelf, surrounded by other anatomical specimens, but he is different. The other skulls and organs are anonymous. He has a name, he has a story, and he has those eyes, which seem to follow you as you move. Looking at the head of Diogo Alves is an unsettling experience. You're not just looking at a preserved organ. You're looking at the face of a man who brought so much terror and death to the world. His expression is strangely placid, almost peaceful, a stark contrast to the violence of his life. And as you stand there, you can't help but wonder what he's thinking. Is there any consciousness left behind those glassy eyes? Or is it just an empty vessel, a grim reminder that while bodies can be preserved, the secrets of the mind often die with them? His stare is a silent challenge, a question mark floating in time. The story of Diogo Alves is a fascinating blend of true crime, dark history, and forgotten science. It's a tale that reminds us that sometimes the strangest stories are the true ones, and even in death, some figures are too terrifying to be forgotten. For more chilling true crime stories and dark historical mysteries, follow and subscribe to Hollow Voice, where even death doesn't end the story. Thanks for watching.